I don't know if this is camping anymore, mate. This is glamping.
So if you've been following my channel for a while, you would have seen that I take this Keg Esky camping every now and then. I'll generally fill it full of spirits. I like doing, I've got a little 6-litre keg that mixes perfectly with 1 litre spirits and 5 litres of mixers. Quite often I'll do rum and ginger beer, dark and stormy. That's really nice. So I was going to do a video on how to build one of these. These are really simple to build, but the only problem is they're only really good for overnighters because you've got to keep them cool with ice, and ice doesn't last so long out in the Aussie heat. So I really wanted to do you a demo on how to build one, but I thought rather than go on the Esky, I'd make one out of a fridge, a 12-volt car fridge. That way it pretty much lasts indefinitely depending on your power source. The principle is exactly the same. The Esky's easier because you don't have to worry when you're drilling through the side of the thing about hitting the coil or the electrics or anything like that. But the fridge is way cooler. So, I reached out to Ironman 4 Drive, told them what I wanted to do, said that I was chasing a fridge, and it turns out that they're as passionate about beer drinking as I am. And they came through with the goods and gave me one of their 40-litre Icecube fridges. So, cheers Ironman, thanks for that. The Icecube 40 litre is a good little fridge. It's got a 5-year warranty on the compressor. That's because they're using the C-Cop, formerly Danfoss compressor. That's the same one that you'll see in some of the leading fridges like Bushman, Evercool, National Luna will use it. They're a Ripple little compressor. That's how they get away with giving you a 5-year warranty on it. And then the rest of it carries a 3-year warranty. Things I really like about this is the action of the lid's really good. The clipping mechanism is really good. I like that it's got a digital display on the back here, and it's also got another digital display on the front here. So you'll see how this will come in handy with the orientation of how I'm putting it in the car. Obviously with the warranty, if you're going to do what I'm doing and drilling holes through it, just be aware that that's going to void your warranty. Another thing I like is, because of the shape of it and the design of the interior compartment, you can fit 62 cans in this, so you can fit 2 boxes of EMU Export, which is wicked. So, there are several options for me to turn this into a Kegerator. When I approached Ironman 4x4, I got an email back from the marketing bloke over east, Daniel, really nice fella, and he was saying that the boys over there had actually been looking at doing the same thing, and they had already converted one into a Kegerator. So they've gone for the tower tap, which is similar to what I'm using at home for my personal system as well. And that's what I'm going to do with this one. You can buy those towers straight off the internet or from your local homebrew store. They go for about 80 or 90 bucks. I'm going to build one because they're all a little bit too tall for my space. But if you had the room, you could just buy one of them. I'll put links in the description. And then obviously the other option would have been to drill through the side of it somewhere and just put a shank tap like I did with my Keg Esky straight through the side like that. I'm pretty concerned about hitting the coil or electronics that are running around the side, because there's obviously wiring for the displays and the controls. So I'll be drilling a hole through the top of this lid where there's no electronics whatsoever, and mount my tower tap on top. So what I've got, 90mm stormwater pipe from Bunnings. This is actually a sink insert. I'll put links to these and the price and whatnot from Bunnings, and then a 90mm end cap. So essentially, we'll glue those bits together. The cap I'm not going to glue, because just in case I need to disconnect the hose from my tap at any point. So I'll leave that cap just sitting on there, paint this whole thing black so it looks a lot neater, and I'll drop 4 bolts down in the corner to attach it to this, and then obviously drill a hole through the bottom of the lid. And then all I've got to do is hole saw out a hole there, and then I'll be able to mount my tap there. And then inside I'm just going to use my 6-litre keg because that's what I've got at the moment. But if you measure the internal dimensions of whatever fridge you're converting, you can work out, you know, the biggest keg you can fit. I worked out there is a 10-litre keg I can fit in this. So the next keg I buy, it'll be that 10-litre. Drill that hole. Thread my tap through and made that hole pretty tight. Locking nut on the inside there. just mark where I'm going to drill my hole in the lid. I'm just going to make it big enough to just pass this hose down. Doesn't need to be as big as that entire pipe. And then I'm going to run some insulation inside the tower tap just so that the beer in that short section of line doesn't get too warm. So it only has to be like maybe a 10mm hole. Doesn't even have to be dead in the centre because I'm going to be able to hide where the hole is with this anyway. There you go, whatever size that is, 12mm. That'll do. So roughly there. It's hot now. Looks good to me. I'm going to put these little hose clamp things on everything because I don't want to be chasing leaks later and pulling stuff apart or lose my beer while I'm out on corrugations and tracks. So I'll do that now. That's good. Now I can attach that beer line. And then I'll nip that up tight as well. Here's, I'll measure my insulation. Not going to want that much. Now I've cut sections of this insulation to slide up the tube, the beer line. And with the left off pieces, I'm just going to fill the airspace in there. So there we go, just stuffed as much in there as I can. Pop that cap on for now. Slide this little drain bit up, the base bit I'm using. It's looking good. That is looking good to me. Just using non-pressure. Yeah, all those birds are loud. Non-pressure pipe glue. What the hell? Right, now I need to set that angle. Let that set for a minute. So I'm just going to make sure this is sitting where I want it. And I'll drill my fixing holes. Let's get this thing painted. I'm just going to remove as much as I can off this tap. And I'm just going to wrap it in masking tape because I can't bother taking it off again. Pretty good. Alright, so several coats of paint later, it's done. It's still really tacky, so just going to be careful not to touch the actual paint. screws through. Right, now I'll add the, this is called a disconnect. This is going to attach to the keg. So I'll slide my little hose clamp on. Tighten that. So the black disconnects are for the beer line, for the liquid line. And the grey disconnects are always going to be for your gas line. And they attach to the top of the keg to these things called poppets. Each poppet's a slightly different size, so it's important. You can't get them mixed up. So the poppet for the liquid line, for the beer line, goes right to the bottom of the keg, so that you're drawing beer up from the very bottom until it's empty. And the gas line is at the very top, so that you're not bubbling gas through your beer. And you can't, most of these kegs will have written on them in or out, so obviously in's gas in and out is beer out. So my liquid line here, my beer line, is going to attach to the out post. Now the reason I've got so much extra hose on this beer line is because it slows down the speed of the beer coming out, or whatever your liquid is, if you've got spirits in there. Slows it down so that you don't get a glass full of head. So it's important to have like 2 to 3 meters of liquid line. The gas line doesn't matter. You can literally have straight from your gas canister straight to the keg. You don't need a big long line. So these just have like a little bit of a collar that pulls like that, pulls back and clips on. So that's it, and you can see that beer is already running through because the keg was under pressure. Right, now for the gas. On my big system at home, I've got a 2.5 or 2.6 kilo CO2 bottle. So you need a bottle or something to store the gas, and then you need a regulator to regulate the, basically slow it down, because these bottles are under heaps and heaps of pressure, but you only want a limited amount of pressure to actually pour the beer and carbonate it, so the regulator slows down that gas flow. This is a really good option. These are the Sodastream bottles. You can either buy them from your local homebrew shop or just the ones from Woolies you get for your Sodastream. And that's a mini CO2 regulator. I'm going to put links for all this stuff in the description, guys, if you want to see that. So these are like 30 bucks to buy new, and then about 20 to refill, thereabouts. A reg's about 80 bucks like this. That's a really good option, but you want it to be able to stand up. It needs to stay like this, upways, because it has got liquid in the bottom, liquid CO2, and you don't want that going into your beer. You just want the gas CO2 that's in the top, so you need to keep that upright. The 40 litre is not quite big enough to keep that upright. I could probably balance it on a bit of an angle, but I don't need to. So yeah, if you're doing a 50 litre fridge, or you're going to have multiple taps, multiple kegs in a bigger Ironman fridge, then probably look at doing the Sodastream bottle like that. The cheapest option is one of these little ones. Again, I'll put a link. You screw your CO2 bulb into the bottom there, and then every time when you're pouring your beer and it starts to slow down, you just give this a little bit of a squirt, and it'll put a bit more CO2 in. The only issue with that is you're opening and shutting your fridge every couple of beers, so you can give it another squirt. So they're cheap, but they're a little bit fiddly. This is a good middle of the range kind of thing. Connects straight onto your keg like the other ones, but it's got a little regulator built into it, so I can adjust the pressure to my serving pressure, which will be about 10 to 12 psi, and screw your bulb in the bottom, and then that just keeps feeding 10 to 12 psi, and it stops when it hits that, so you don't have to keep opening and shutting it. And one of these little bulbs will easily serve that whole keg, so that's a really good option, that one. So these bulbs are single use as well, these gas bulbs. When you screw it into the bottom of this regulator, it pierces the end of it, so it can only be used once. So I'll just make sure that's off. Yep. So you'll hear it pierce it like that, and now that's ready to go. So I'll clip that onto the top of the keg, and now I'll adjust the gauge to put, like I said, about 10 to 12 psi, so I'm just turning it towards the plus. Having that camping is going to be wicked. That's pretty much it. So yeah, you can do what I'm doing. You can brew your own beer, and that can be as easy or as complicated as you want to make it. I'm not much of a brewer. I don't really know what I'm doing, but I get good tasting beer at home, and it's cheap. It works out to about for about 25 bucks. I can brew 2 cartons worth, so it definitely works out. So that's just like the Cooper's kits. You can see I've got one in there ready to go, and you just stick that in. Once it's finished fermenting, you just pour it into your keg, stick it on gas and refrigerate it for about a week, and it'll be up to serving pressure. Or like I said, just go spirits. A little 6 litre keg is perfect for 1 litre of spirits and 5 litre of mixer, whatever you want, vodka and Coke, rum and ginger beer, whatever, cocktails, anything. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that. Let me know what you reckon. Cheers. Oh, and a big thank you to Ironman as well. Thanks for hooking me up with the fridge and enabling my drinking habits. Cheers.